Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today Celtic take on Kilmarnock. This is Martin O'Neill's fourth game in charge since he returned to the football club after a tumultuous few weeks at Celtic Park. I am running solo. I've got the team up here, ladies and gents. Thanks everybody for getting involved. Straight off the bat, let us know what the shape is that you think Celtic are going to deploy today, because I'm looking at that start 11. And I think there's an interesting take that we might be able to shape up as a 3-5-2 classic Martin O'Neill. Will it happen? Let us know in the comments section. And on today and days like today, you're able to get more comments in on the discussion, which I think is a positive. Loopy 33Z, Simpson Pusey lives. He certainly does, and he starts his first game for Celtic today. 2-0, says Jay Conley, Jay Larkin, Sriracha, man of the match. He is the poster boy on the starting 11. And we've also got Sean Fairley, performance irrelevant, just win. Yeah, get that. I totally get it. I think a good performance would also fill us with a bit of confidence as well going into the international break. Rangers are 2-0 up against Dundee. Hearts have just gone a goal up against Dundee United. So, yeah, we absolutely need to win this game. There is no doubt about it. I don't care that it's November, not even the middle of November. This is a must-win game. Absolutely. No doubt about it. 3:30 says Plunge. Always 30 minutes before kickoff on match day. Thanks for joining us. God wears 7. We are always here 30 minutes before the game kicks off. And I'm interested to talk about the start 11 here, because as well as interesting personnel choices, particularly Simpson Pusey, how do we line up? Because I've got this kind of vision of a 3-5-2 that we could play far more often at home. We've spoken about it on here so many times on a Celtic State of Mind. We could play 3-5-2 at home. We could play teams like Kilmarnock at home with more of an attacking mindset. Because when you think about the amount of defending we do, we should be able to set up a 5 in the middle that can switch to a back 4 at any kind of given time. So with this starting 11, here's what I'm saying, and we'll only know this, I guess, when we kick off and we see how everybody shapes up. But obviously, Schmeichel is between the sticks. Casper saves. Let's hope he does today. You could play with Simpson, Pusey, Trusty, and Scales. So hear me out on this one. So Simpson, Pusey, he can either play right or left. He can also play right back, which is maybe throwing this into a bit of disarray. But Simpson, Pusey can play on the right-hand side. And then it would be a case of Trusty or Scales on the left-hand side with the other one sitting in the middle of a back 3. So there's your defence organised straight away. Now, then the question exists, who's your wing backs? Who's playing touching on the touch lines? Well, it's Sriracha and Tunecki. And by the way, Sriracha can play right or left. So he could be playing on the right-hand side, wide right, and Tunecki could be playing on the left. And then your midfield 3 would be McGregor, Hatate, and McCowan. And that wouldn't be unusual. Obviously, Hatate and McCowan playing as a 2 number 8s. And then up top, you could have a scenario where Maeda and Kenny are playing through the centre. Now, that would interest me. I think it would interest me at home. I think we could play it far more often at home, but we never do. The fact that Martin O'Neill's in and it was his favoured formation first time round, we're going retro, we're going nostalgia. Perhaps it will happen. If it doesn't happen, then Simpson Pusey's playing right back. Sriracha's playing left back. Trusty and Scales are your 2 centre halves. And then, of course, you're looking at Maeda on the right, Tunecki on the left, Kenny through the middle, and then your midfield 3 of McGregor, Hatate, and McCowan. Tell me in the comment section, which of those scenarios do you think will happen? What's most likely? And which one would you rather? That's going to be very interesting as well. River C3, it did come to my attention as soon as I seen this that Bernardo must be injured. He's dropped completely out of the squad. Sinisalo on the bench. Nigren drops out, and I think, given his performance the other night, he should. Balikwisha hasn't got started at Celtic. What's going to happen with Balikwisha? There's another point of discussion. Let us know in the comments section. We'll go out there and spend a fee that exceeds the record fee that Michelin's ever bought a player for, and he's a bit part. He's coming on for wee cameos. He's not really made a mark. He's set up 1 goal. What next for Balikwisha? What do we do with him? Yang is on the bench, as is Shin Yamada. Shin Yamada had to come back into the squad, of course, after the injuries of Iheanacho and Osmond, get well soon. Osmond, it was a shame to see that actually, because he made such an impact when he came in. Annie Engels drops to the bench. Obviously, Hatati's back in. We've got Dane Murray, Ralston, and Tierney, the three defenders, on the bench as well. Why not start with a 3-5-2? We've got enough personnel both on the park and on the bench. If we need to switch it back in, we can do so. We could do a scenario where we switch to a 4-4-2 when defending. Because, as I say, Simpson Pusey can go to the right-hand side, so that you could drop back. These are the things that we could do in match. But I do like the look of the starting 11. There's a freshness to it as well. So we're going to be getting in. Here we go. The first cut comes in. As many comments as possible. And you say it's a must-win. I agree. I was talking about must-win games a few weeks ago. I called the Tynecastle game a must-win game. Doesn't matter to me how early you are in your season. Games and campaigns can run away from you. They can run away from you. And then the momentum, which we keep going on about, is in favour of the likes of Hearts. And actually what the first cut says there is more of a momentum swinging Ibrox way as well. Even Gers are catching us. And we don't even have our usual safety net of goal difference because we simply have not been scoring enough goals. Rangers are still 2-0 up after 32 minutes at Dens Park, and Hearts are still 1-0 up against Dundee United. So before we go into this game, which is an unusual 4 o'clock kickoff, we are 12 points behind Hearts. Yeah, we're obviously 2 games worse off, but we're 12 points behind Hearts, and just 2 points behind us are Rangers. And again, yes, we have played a game less. And both those fixtures against the Dundonian clubs have not yet concluded. But that's where we are. And that's where we are due to the poor form that we've shown and the upheaval that we have been facing this season. I'm going to leave that starting 11 up on the screen here. I'll just squeeze over to the left-hand side of the screen. I don't think anyone will make any complaints about my Fazog being a little bit smaller on the screen today. I'll also obviously bring up the Kilmarnock team as well. Where are we? Where are we in terms of Celtic then? Obviously, we're concentrating on the game today, but there's so much happening, you know. We've got the situation at the moment with the Celtic Trust, who are trying to assist small shareholders in, if they so desire, allowing the proxy vote to go the Trust's way, give them more power, obviously, particularly with an AGM coming up. There was an issue. There was an issue with that happening. There was an issue with the word trust, believe it or not, in relation to trying to register your proxy vote for the Celtic Trust. Very unusual, that. So the Celtic Trust have obviously released a statement. I'll be talking this week to Jeanette Finlay about that prior to the AGM as well. For anybody out there who does have shares and they want to be able to proxy them into almost an umbrella situation where your voice gets more strong because it's under the Trust's guidance, then we'll tell you all about that and how to do it. Then you have, of course, the Green Brigade being banned. So the club released a statement. I mean, this season, statement after statement, still waiting for a positive one. Released a statement, and obviously they have kicked in the suspended ban that was implemented earlier on this season, 6 games, so they won't be there today. And the thing with that, I mean, in terms of the generational aspect of the singing at Celtic Park, the noise, the colour, the curio, the whole thing at Celtic Park, it does come from the ultras. It's just the way that it is. I mean, over a period of 20 years, there are people who have gone to Celtic Park, and that has become the norm, that, you know, the kind of singing section, if you like, has always been the ultras. Prior to 20 years ago, it was down to whoever created the songs. Earlier than that, you know, they emanated from all parts of the ground, the jungle included. So this is where we are. And then obviously, in terms of backing the team, I know that the collective were criticised by some supporters, and, you know, in relation to some of the protests and that it might harm the team. Well, cutting off a big loud section of the support might well harm the team, mightn't it not? So they are suspended, they're banned for 6 games, 3 home, 3 away, and today's the first of those. So in terms of the dysfunctional nature of the relationship between the club and the support, it doesn't seem to be getting any better. The Celtic Fans Collective came out in support of the Green Brigade and released their own statement as well. So Interesting times in the world of Celtic, and in terms of the football, we are waiting to see what happens with our next step into management. Ewan Boy Martin, as he so often does, is involved in the chat. And I've got to say, thank you for supporting the channel, Ewan. It's always appreciated, mate. I was disappointed, he says, that we played 4-3-3 in Europe, as it was obviously not working, but very delighted to see a change in formation and the inclusion of Simpson Pusey. So Ewan's going with my suggestion that it might be a 3-5-2. Martin O'Neill's starting to put his influence on the team. Is this Martin O'Neill's final game? Second time round. Is this his final game in charge? I mean, he's been at pains to suggest constantly, this is interim, this is interim. I don't want us going in and rushing an appointment. We did a special on Friday night. I was with Paddy Boy and Steve-O from the Celtic World Order, and we looked through all those kind of names quoted in relation to who might be coming into Celtic and taking over the reins permanently from Brendan Rodgers. You know, there's different types of managers within those quoted. Let us know in the comment section who you like and why. So you've got people like Knutson at Bodo Glimt, Nancy, whose season has just concluded, Wilfred Nancy. These are people that, you know, they have done well. And I think also, you know, what you've got to consider is why they've done well and what system they are operating within. So they didn't go to the club that they're at and then absolutely revitalise it and create the system that is deployed throughout the club, throughout recruitment, throughout data analysis, player development. They're just part of that. So if they were to come out of that environment and then step into this environment at Celtic, where we don't have all that in place, because obviously we need a complete upheaval of the football department, there is no guarantee that what they were doing before and what was working well for them before is going to then just click into place. And I know that people will say, well, there's never a guarantee with a manager. And you're right. But I think that a big part, some of the success stories that are in the list of potential candidates is due to the fact that they're at a club where the manager is part of the machine. They're a cog in the wheel. And if you come to Celtic and it's a completely different setup, then it's going to be difficult for them to adapt to the way that we work. And obviously, we're diving right into a January transfer window. There is no doubt whatsoever that it's a huge window for us. We really need to come out of that window. Yeah, I'm going to say it, 4 players up. So if we lose 1, well, we need to sign 5, and all 5 of them need to be first picks. You know, this is where we are. This is the situation that happens if you run through a couple of seasons into our 3rd season without having brilliant transfer windows. It catches up with you eventually, particularly when you're constantly selling assets. Before you know it, the squad quality is diminished. And that is where we are right now. There is a cycle. And unless you continually feed into that cycle with the quality, by the time it gets to the point where 3 or 4 quality players have left and have not been replaced sufficiently, you get a situation that we are now facing. Throw into the mix all the issues with the manager, throw into the mix the injuries that we're suffering. There's no doubt that we've had a really poor run of injuries. Then you're threadbare. You're a team who are going for 4 different tournaments, 3 domestically and in Europe. And I say go for, not that I think we're going to win the Europa League, but you want to progress. You still want to get 10 games in there. You want to get out of the league section. It's still possible. And you go into that scenario with a threadbare squad. It's not good enough for Celtic. It goes beyond the manager who wasn't perfect. It goes beyond that. It goes into the structure of the football club. Really keen to get as many of you involved as possible. Thanks everybody for tuning in. The first cut also points out no James Forrest on the bench. So yeah, here we go. JSP, sink or swim. We have been talking about Simpson Pusey since the day he signed, really. I mean, when you consider where he was in his career coming through at Manchester City, if you rewind 2 pre-seasons ago, we played Man City in the States. Simpson Pusey played in that game. He was an emerging talent. By the time he hits 19 at Man City, he's got first-team experience competitively and Champions League experience. You're looking at the scenario we had with the likes of Jason Denayer a few seasons back. Similar. Come up to Scotland, get some game time, assist the club that you're joining, and then go back down the road. That's basically Simpson Pusey's arrangement, because we don't have an option to buy on the player. But it hasn't worked out, and who knows why it's not worked out. But whatever has happened in the background, Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney have been able to overlook any issues that may be happening, unconfirmed. Comment on the starting 11 formation. Yeah, we've been doing that, Bobby, since we came on. But obviously it leads into other issues as to why we're here and why we're selecting the starting 11 the way that we're selecting it. So it's deeper than just 11 names on the team sheet. Jay Conley, Jay Larkin, still not sure Knutson would be a success away from his own environment. Various Bodo players got big moves but failed. That's a good point. There are certain managers who absolutely thrive within a certain environment, and he is one of them. The boards are not our enemy, says John McVeigh. The board are not our enemy. Well, I tell you something, they're disproving that, John. They're banning fans. They're taking a flamethrower to the dugout. In fact, they've taken a flamethrower to the dugout with Brendan Rodgers in that statement. They've taken a flamethrower to the fan groups in the last few days. If that was to continue into the boardroom, then maybe we would see some of the changes that we are sadly lacking, unfortunately. And Bobby's come back in, so unfortunately it doesn't look as though you're interested in being part of the conversation or the Acsom community. So that's just unfortunate for yourself, because it is a vastly growing community, and it's great fun, regardless of whether or not we're doing well or not. You can come in here and you can talk about it. The Jagged God comes in to say, sadly, it's going to be the same as the last few windows. Can't be. It just cannot be. Ambition is not in the blood of this board. Dividends are all that matters. They don't like getting called arrogant. They don't like getting called complacent and lazy, but that's exactly what they are. And what can you ignore? The reason that we have an interim manager, the reason that we're 12 points behind the league leaders' Hearts, the reason that we've got so many players out of the team, all have to be discussed, Paul, as well as whoever goes on the park and pulls on the jersey as the starting 11, which throughout the pre-match will be discussed. At half-time, we'll talk about the first half action, and in the post-match, we will talk about the entirety of the game and the outcome. And let's just hope that we're all happy. But in terms of the discussion always takes in, and always will take in, all aspects of Celtic. Jungle Lion, they wanted a rainy day, and now they've got a monsoon. I've been asking about the formation today. I think it would be really exciting and refreshing if we went 3-5-2. Martin O'Neill's in the house. It's a throwback to the early 2000s. Some of us have never left that era when it comes to fashion. And Martin O'Neill, I just think that it's one of these things that we should have been doing. Game after game at home under Brendan Rodgers against the likes of opposition that we're facing today. We became predictable. You could predict the shape. You could more or less predict the starting 11. And today, this drops about an hour before kick-off, and it's got the tongues wagging. If it is a 3 at the back, Simpson Pusey is a big talking point. Trusty has come back into the side. There's been a couple of controversial moments, obviously. He tickled the head of Jack Butland, and some people reckon that should have been a red card. It wasn't. But, I think that the opposition that day should be thanking their lucky stars that certain other decisions didn't go against them. Red card for Cornelius, offside goal that never was for Dyson Maeda and others. So, these are the things that you can focus on, or you can have a one-dimensional view on. But Austin Trusty's been brilliant since he's come back in. I'm not quite sure why he wasn't utilised more often. And I know that when he was questioned, Brendan Rodgers basically put it down to the fact that he was a left-sided central defender. One of the best performances that Trusty and Scales had together as a partnership was against Atalanta away from home last season. Nothing each draw, very good defensive performance, and those two guys were excellent. And of course, during that match, one of them is playing on an unfavoured side. I said during the season, I felt too much when it's a central when it's a central position. I think too much is made of the strongest side. I really do. I think if you're playing fullback or on the wing, it's different, because you really need to adapt your game in order to and cross, clear, pass, all these kind of things. But in terms of your defensive ability in the central defensive areas, if you're right or left footed and you're playing in the centre, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. I mean, the tackling motion, I don't think that it comes down to your strong leg. Even if you're right footed, your tackling motion can still be strong on your left hand side. Once the ball comes to you, you've seen Starfelt playing it out, supposedly out of position for the entirety of his Celtic career. But him and Carter Vickers had a fantastic partnership. So it was one of the things, it was almost as if, regardless of how well Carter Vickers or Dane Murray was playing, Trusty was never getting a look in. And thankfully, he has been reintroduced into the side. I think he's been one of the reasons why, particularly in the first two games under Matt O'Neill, there was a freshness to it. We all, I think, got a bit tired of the fact that, the most passes in the team came between Kasper Schmeichel and the two centre-halves. They were passing the ball more than anybody else on the park. It was one of the reasons why we were so slow in attack. We couldn't get them on the back foot. We were giving them far too much time to regroup and reassemble. These teams come to Celtic Park in particular, having worked all week on their defensive plan, and we were giving them time. There wasn't the tempo, the speed of thought, etc., because so much passes were happening. That hasn't been the case since Matt O'Neill came in. We're progressing the ball much quicker. Trusty's been a big element of that. So fair play to him. I think Scalesy as well. He's had a few bad games, but the team have had a few poor performances this season. And I'm looking forward to seeing Simpson Pusey. What happens if Pusey absolutely strolls it today? And after the game, we're thinking, wait a minute, why haven't we been playing this guy? Why haven't we been playing Callum Osmond? And there's another man on the bench today, Shin Yamada, who at some point I hope gets a run out as well. And then it does seem to be the two people coming in saying don't talk about anything other than the starting 11. The politics between the manager, the previous manager, and the board not playing these guys. You've got to talk about it. You've got to ask the question, why is today the day that Simpson Pusey makes his debut? Why has Shin Yamada been thrown in the scrap heap alongside Inamura? And why didn't Callum Osmond get a sniff? And when he did, he looked really, really good. Unfortunately, he's been injured. We then move into the dynamic of the midfield. So even if we are playing four at the back, the three midfield, the central midfield players are McGregor, Hatate and McCowan. Hatate was a blind spot from several games, several weeks in relation to Brendan Rodgers. It was as if he was undroppable for a spell, regardless of how well or poorly he was playing. He's back in the team today. Luke McCowan. Good to see Luke McCowan getting a start. I was in Luke's old stomping ground a couple of Fridays ago, and he's really well thought of with the Celtic support that I talked to as well. Maybe it's time for him to get a chance. Engels drops to the bench. What's your thoughts in relation to the formation? Are we playing 3-5-2? That's a big question, Kyle. I don't think we'll know until we actually see the team shaping up on the park. Hearts 1, Dundee United 1. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That is a fantastic update. And it's Lou Stevenson scores for Dundee United. And it's 1 each just before the break. It's now half-time. Fantastic. That's good to see. If they can drop anything. I mean, it was kind of hopeful that Rangers would drop anything at Dens Park. It was kind of more hope than anything else. But Dundee United need to step up in a game like today, John. And it looks as though they have. So, yes, are we playing three at the back? That's a big question. It's going to be very interesting to see that. And I hope we are. I really hope we are. Bruce, FM, you get it, my friend. This show would last for 90 seconds. I would be like reading out the starting 11 like the guy who reads it over a tannoy in the stadium. If we just ran through the starting 11 and the formation, this is what it's all about. When you're talking about Celtic, it will deviate into other areas, be that the board, and even on a Thursday, now and again, we can talk about other things like music and film as well. Brendan Kelly, yeah, brilliant to see that Dundee United equalised. Hopefully they can go into that second half and continue with that as well. Ian Roy's asking a question here. Am I doing a watch-along in the second half? We'll see how it goes, Ian, because I did that. I think it was impromptu against Sturm Graz, and it was quite enjoyable actually just sitting there because I wasn't trying to structure anything. I was just watching the game. And normally I'm sitting taking notes on the game so I can talk about it at full time. We just ran through in the second half. The entirety of the game was covered. So let us know, and hopefully we will be in a good position at halftime as well. Now, we've got Crossford boy. Crossford, you're not that far away from me if you live in Crossford, Fife, that is. I often find myself wondering what I did prior to discovering Acsom during lockdown. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much for the shout out. It's always a pleasure. And again, obviously, lots of plans happening in the background for Acsom in relation to moving into a studio so that we can broadcast to a broadcast level, if you like. So it's not going to be live streaming. It's going to be a live broadcast in a studio. It might even give us a opportunity to sit on a comfortable couch and talk Celtic with our co-contributors as well. Really looking forward to that. And once we've done it, then we can also extend the time of it. But we'll always be here at 12:30 to 1:30 because I know that started during the lockdown. We're in our 6th season doing this every single day from 12:30 weekday, that is, and then every game as well. And what's happened in the 6 seasons? Let's have a wee think about that as well. So the first season we started doing it every day. We'd already been running for a few years on Acsom. And the first season was going for 10 in a row during lockdown. And we all know what happened. Very tough season to come on after all those games. Then we had, obviously, the kind of uprising. Ange coming in 2 seasons, a double and a treble. Then the return of Brendan, and we win a double and a double. And then this season. So we've had a few ups and downs, haven't we? And we really don't know what's going to happen next with regards to the manager as well. Any updates on young Osmond? It's a nasty one. These hamstrings, honestly, it's very, very difficult for them to come back. And if they do it early, then it could be a reoccurring injury. So just take their time, young man. We need a striker in January in any case. Tony Ralston's out the picture today as well, I've noticed as well. So, I mean, sitting on the bench, we could always revert back to a 4 at the back if we need to. And then when we've got Rio Atati coming back in, I think the biggest issue so far for Rio has been his ball retention, far too many stray passes. He needs to pick it up. He needs to actually arrive this season. He's not done anything this season for me. I know that he scored 1 goal against Aberdeen, I think it was, but you know what we're looking for is game-changing performances from Rio Atati. I've just got this. I'm not sure what the question is. The question simply is Yang. Well, Yang's on the bench, isn't he? So we'll see if he makes an appearance. But, you know, he had dropped out previously as well. Sirachi is a new Alan Thompson. I think I like what I've seen of Sirachi so far. The disappointment for me has been in the form of Kieran Tierney since he came back. I was buzzing for Kieran Tierney when he came back to the football club. And unfortunately, you know, the performances haven't been there. And I don't know why. Fitness, it's easy just to say fitness. He looks like a different player, though, doesn't he? Sirachi's come in and there's an enthusiasm about him. There's a kind of a rogue element in terms of you don't know what you're getting, but not in the Bernabei sense, because Bernabei, I think, was reckless. I think that Sirachi's more disciplined, but he can break ranks a wee bit, but always come back. His pace is frightening. And I was liking the fact that he was creating a partnership with Tuneki. Tuneki came in a blaze of glory, kind of gone off the boil a little bit. So I think it's time for him to find his form again. And today would be a good day for him to do that as well. Doing a watch a Yang, we could do. Remember, Sky used to do that, focus on one player, but it would be unfair if it was Yang because people think I've got something against them. I think we're playing a back 4 based on the warm-up, says Jamie Murphy. Thank you for that, Jamie. Bernardo will be gone in January. That's why he's not included. Paul, it'd be a shame if he was away in January. I was thinking about him as being one of the guys that might be reintroduced and get a new bounce under a new manager, but it doesn't seem to be happening for him. I liked what I've seen in season 1, particularly when he was on loan, strangely enough. I mean, we got him for 3 to 3.5. I thought it was a good bit of business as well. Ian Boyd does say that young Osmond is out for a long time. The injury is one of the worst I've seen at Lennox Town. That's a shame, honestly. I mean, he's a guy, he was playing on enthusiasm. I loved his introduction, particularly when he had more or less just been ignored. He'd been ignored since he came in. Bernardo not even on the bench, that's right. Give me your predictions for today then. We're up against Kilmarnock. Stuart Kettlewell doesn't like him on after the game. Let us know what you think the outcome is going to be before we go to the kickoff. And of course, at halftime, we will be back. I'm hoping with a wee spring in our step to talk about the first half action. Thank you, 1,500 of you live across the globe for tuning into Celtic State of Minds. pre-match chat. We do talk about the starting 11 and everything else that's happening in the world of Celtic. Thank you for getting involved and join us at half-time on A Celtic State of Mind.